Hi, nice to see you all. We had I think more than 600 people joining, subscribing for a Friday afternoon is not bad. Also starting the summer today. At least in this part of the world, I guess starting the winter for some other people. But thank you for taking a bit of time, around 1 hour max, to discuss hybrid. I think hybrid methods. I think this is something that is not new, but I think it's kind of a retake or a relook on what do we mean by hybrid, because I think one of the biggest findings I've seen in any research is that we're all using hybrid, but it's hard to define how to apply it, or what is the method, or is there a method or not, or I just don't know myself if it's organized chaos or if it's chaos with a bit of some waterfall and agile. I just don't know. So my idea is to share a little bit of the survey that it took me like a month and a half to do, more than 1,000 replies. So, but you can read it. I will not just highlight a few things. I will share also a small formula, the beginning of a formula of what could be used to see whether a piece of work or a project can be used hybrid or should use more waterfall or more agile. So this is all work in progress, but for me, this is a community that I hope we can co-create together something that is useful. There is already a few methodologies called hybrid. One of them, Danish, half double, I've gone deep into understanding. They're being used, there's case studies. PMI, of course, talks about different type of methods. The same for Prince 2. And so there is already some stuff. To me, it's not very clear yet. So I hope we can do something together. So let me go to some slides. And then what we'll do is just put some breakouts. Then we have a bit more interaction. And then we just get together and do a bit of debrief. So today is more about the findings. Next time, and I hope we can do this maybe on a monthly basis, we can look at some methods and see where there's already some material that can be shared, can be piloted, can be tested, or it's already best practice and we can all benefit from that. So let me just start by sharing a couple of slides and a bit of the report, and then we can go into a bit of work. That, you know, for me, one of the triggers has been, even if we professionals in this space, we feel like we understand hybrid, there's still perception of, we're talking about two different camps. One is waterfall, and the people who are more traditional, or I think traditional maybe is not the right word, but people who are more using the predictive type of projects versus the agile. So that was what led me to write an article for HBR. And it was really one of their top, together with the one I wrote with Ricardo on AI. This one was also really top for many months. It seems that it touched a point into the HBR kind of community. And I told HBR, you've been publishing a lot about Agile and Agile philosophy and principle, but you don't write anything on waterfall. So I think you're also a bit sided on that. So that led me to write that article, and it's just a bit of a fun, but what happens when you put traditional project managers and agile practitioners? It's kind of a bit of a fight. It's still sided, huh? And that's why in all the companies I know, the agile team is never working with the more predictive waterfall teams. They're in different floors even, or different buildings. So I think there is still some sensitivity there that we need to address. These are quotes that I got for this article. It's waterfall is a process designed for a world that no longer exists. This was one comment I got. Waterfall is a dinosaur. Wow. Agile makes eagles team up with turkeys. Agile is a way of delivering failure faster. I like that one. So you can see there is two sides. Even I guess most of us, we appreciate both sides, but there is some tension that I think we need to iron, and we need both. And I think one of the drivers for the Agile was that they kill the project manager role, right? In Agile, there's no project managers, product managers, Scrum Master. So that all had some impact and feelings in the profession. So what I wanted to do is share briefly the highlights of the report. I will put the report again on the chat so you can download, but it's free to download on my website. So let me just share the other slide I have here with the report, and then we can just briefly comment. If there's anything that you found surprising, or then please jump in and just share. We'll have time to interact a bit later. Just we'll go through this. Sorry, this is not the right one. This is the right one. Yeah. So it's in PowerPoint format. I think I'll go first to the findings, and you see how many participants there were. So it's a good representation. It's consulting and IT people are a big part of the, but there's pockets on non-for-profit, telecom, manufacturing, insurance. Project managers is 1/3. There's others, there's CEOs. I was surprised to see that the only thing that I find not great is the Agile Scrum. Didn't have too many replies there. It's not a community that I'm very close, so, but yeah, there's a few voices there. And then the countries, US, Canada, India, South Africa. So it's kind of global research. This one is a bit complicated, but this one was a big kind of no-brainer, but I didn't expect 89% use mix of methodologies. So I think all of us, and it's just hard to say what, for me, hybrid, I look at the definition. When you look at what hybrid means in Oxford dictionaries, use of 2 or more methods. So it's not just waterfall and Agile, it can be more, and it should be more. So I think this is something that it's important to keep in mind. This is something that it has happened from 10 years ago was a big jump. I don't know why. There was a huge increase in 2015. I don't know. If I knew, I will tell you, but there was a big jump there in the mid 2015s, and it just continues to be more and more adopted. What else? Yeah, has there been improvements? So yes, definitely improvements. Moderately or significant, 1/3 significant improvements. So actually hybrid works. If we manage to define more in detail what this hybrid means, then great. But it does improve, and it makes sense that it's improving. Most of the research on project success is a bit old. So just the standard, the Standish group has this report. I'm looking forward to see the next one. But if we are saying here there's improvement with hybrids, I would like to see that also in the reports where we look at success in projects. So what else? One of the, I would have thought why we do hybrid, greater flexibility. It's on the top 2, but it's also about resource management. So it's interesting. So we do hybrid because we need more flexibility in the resources, or better, I think maybe projects, people cannot be tied to one project, and we need to do several projects at the same time, mixing methodologies. I want to understand that better resource management, what's behind. Greater flexibility, obviously, it's something that I think for me, it will be the main driver. What else? Which project management do you commonly integrate? So there's these two major ones. I would not like to leave behind change management. I've been teaching a lot the last 2 years, and it's focused more on the project management. But I talk about Agile, I talk about change, and especially change and project management. I don't know who decided to take them as two different disciplines. I think there are specialities in each, but for me, you cannot teach project management without talking about engagement of stakeholders, talking about benefits, talking about why, how to create a team from a group. So I think 80% of what I talk is part of project, part of change. So I just don't know where it came, this split between change and project management, because I think their expertise is that you need an expert. But most of the time, if you want to be a successful project manager, you need to know change management. And if you want to be a successful change manager, you need to know project management. So I just don't know where that happens. So I think the biggest convergence is waterfall, agile, and change management. Then you have, for maybe smaller parts of the project, Lean Six Sigma and Lean Startup and product management, Discipline Agile for the bigger portfolio management. So I think that's to the point of, we are not just comparing these two on the top, but it's just a toolbox, right? So how does that toolbox look like? And do each project have a different tools every time? I just don't know. I think that's what I want to figure out. So that's very interesting. How often do you tailor your hybrid project management approaches? Always, so it's 40%. So every project needs a different approach almost. I've been, in my career, I work in PwC for many years. One of my biggest tasks was to develop one standard methodology for all projects in large companies. And now I'm realizing that was wrong, or maybe it was good at that time. But today, if you have one standard project management methodology, you need to change that urgently, right? And how will that look like? And how do you integrate change, agile, and Scrum into one kind of tool set, from one methodology or policy to a set of this? I don't know. When I know, I tell you, but it's just more thinking, which is, I love this type of challenges. This is more detailed, a bit detailed. You can read the more details, but there's savings on resources. So this is the main reason why companies do this. We talk about that. To what extent do you agree the following statement? The hybrid project management approach has improved for project success rate. Agree, strongly rate. I didn't ask for facts here. This is subjective. I would like to see some practical. There is this Danish company which is the most advanced in hybrid methods that I know, and they have case studies. So I am planning to invite them on a call to share what they've done in Scandinavia and really seen the results of this methodology that they have. So I have some evidence, but not coming from this research. Team productivity, so a significant increase. I think this is an important one. I think teams will appreciate that hybrid approaches, because probably it plays on their strengths. If you have a diverse team, hybrid will probably be much better than one very kind of strict or fixed, either agile or waterfall. So it makes sense. There's a few comments you'll see here, but I like the first one. Hybrid is the new agile, somebody said. The larger the project program, the more flexibility in terms of methodology can be accommodated. So there's an indication, big transformation programs of 2-3 years. Yes, absolutely hybrid. There's no doubt about that. So these are nice comments that come from the feedback. I think there's a big point here on the 4. AI will have an influence. I think we're talking about AI, ChatGPT as a way to get more insights, do part of our work, but I think AI will also need to help us to do the decisions on which tools to apply whenever we are in the project. So I've not seen anything, but I think that will happen. It has to happen. So you can read this. I just go quickly through this so that we have time to discuss. The training, this was a curious why I put why training is always important, but just a few people have received, but what does it mean training? So again, what I see here, people say training when they've learned Agile and they've learned project waterfall predictive. So it's not that there's a training on hybrid. This is not existing. Yeah, so the trainings are, you know that, maybe you know risk management too, and maybe then figure out yourself. Okay, so there is no training on hybrid. And if anybody knows a good training, please share so we can have a look. But I think there's an opportunity there. And I just don't know how it will look a training hybrid. I just don't know. Complex project, much more effective. So this was one of the comments, large transformation, complex, there will be a need to have that kind of hybrid methods. What challenges have to encounter? So these are interesting. Resistance to change from the team member, actually. So it's always, we are a profession that we like change. We force change, but often we're not the one who like to change ourselves. Yeah. And then difficulty in synchronizing. I think that's a big one. How do you synchronize different methodologies? That's spot on. An inconsistency process across teams. So that's the lack of that standard approach, tool set. I don't think there's much on that. I've seen a couple that I want to share in a coming call, but difficult in synchronizing. I think that's spot on. Which aspects of hybrid project management have contributed to more project success? Flexibility, communication, alignment, improve. So these are standard. In terms of tools, there's Jira and tools that you know, the Trello, the Slack. I think they mix a bit of both. I will not say these tools are pure hybrid. I think they all started in one area. These, like the ones you see here, are collaboration and mostly IT projects, development projects, and they probably have had some Gantt charting and risk management. And so, but I'm not a user of, I've seen Jira, I've seen Trello, I'm Slack, I've been in a few ones, I'm not an active user. So something to explore. If there's any great tool here, that would be amazing to have them. How do you assess the success of a project? The benefits, that's clear. There's good, here's some practical advice from people who have used. So that's for, if you want to read it, how some people who are using hybrid, they recommend, like this part, it was more concrete as well. How will the introduction of AI, it will accelerate the adoption. AI will help to choose the best mix of methods. So I think that's what I was saying. I've not seen anything. And next week we have the master class with Ricardo, and I want to go a bit deeper on that point, is how could be a tool of AI help us to choose the right method. That would be incredible. Senior leadership, I think this is the biggest gap in project management, and is the senior leaders have other priorities most of the time. I don't think it's related to hybrid or not hybrid, it's that they don't have time for projects and a bit on transformation. So that's where I'm doing the new research on that piece, and I'll ask you if you could help me at the end. Improve agility. Well, I think the rest is more to read. I think decision making, I like that. I think this is what can make a difference in projects. If you have quick decision making, that will accelerate and will avoid delays. So I think this is one of the points of hybrid methods. It's really about quick decision making. What are the key factors to use waterfall methodology? So it's clarity of scope. If we know what we want, we tend to use waterfall, regulatory and compliance and complexity. For Agile, need for flexibility, rapid change and iteration. So just confirming, which is good, just nothing really surprising here. Innovation, yeah, if you're in a company which needs innovation, which needs a lot of experimentation, and I think hybrid is often a good approach. Stakeholder engagement, this is something I need to understand better, how hybrid methods can influence stakeholder engagement. I need to deep dive. Well-being, well-being is something that we start talking more and more, work-life balance, so absolutely, yeah, nice. How does your organization culture? Okay. And then do you foresee continued increased use? I think everyone, about 90% of the people say this is the future. So I think if we want to be successful, if we want to develop a refreshed version of project management, or what will be the name, it has to be towards these hybrid methods. And the summary. So all that in the report that you can use, you can share. So I will put it in the link again. And I want to go back briefly on the previous slides. And then I propose to do breakouts. I think it's nice to connect with other people and then have a bit of a discussion. New share. So here it is. And I will put another file here in the chat in a second. So this is the survey. If you could, I'll show it at the end, but this is something new with HBR for a book I'm working on. So the idea of the book is, my earlier book with HBR was, the main philosophy was, everybody's a project manager. Most of them don't know it. So I think you all know that you're a project manager, but there's so many people who are doing projects, and the philosophy of this new book is every organization is project driven as opposed to operations driven, but the leaders don't know it. So in trying to meet to help get those senior leaders to understand that their organization has to change, the culture has to change, their role as leader has to change. So if you could just help me, it's about 10 minutes survey. I hope you find the questions interesting. We have 10 days left, so yeah, we'll come back to that later. I'll send you the link. But thinking about this, what's the most suitable? So just to oversimplify, I'm sure this is not the final version, but when you look at methods and how to categorize, first is the requirements. So if we know them, we don't know them, that's already a big determination. If it's complex programs or it's just a simple project, that has an impact. The stakeholders is very narrow or broad, will have an impact also in the methods. I have 5 criteria. Project phases, is this a long-term or it's 6 months type of project? And then the type of uncertainty. It's called risk, but it's more uncertainty. So with that, I make like a table, and you'll see that here coming next. So with this table, you score each of them in one of the columns. So the scope requirements are clear and stable. That's 1 point there. Change adaptability, if there's a lot of changes expected, for example, here we have some changes, so that would be a score 3. Stakeholder engagement and feedback, minimal feedback, we know what we need to do, just do it, long time frames. And so by ranking these 5, and there's the brackets to say, okay, between 5 and 9, so you score all of them 1, that's a project or a phase, because this is project or phase that should be used in waterfall. If you go into the other extreme, then this definitely don't use waterfall, please. Just go hybrid, agile. And in between is a bit of both. And I will put this right now in the chat because I wanted that you experiment a bit in your groups. So I took one example. This was the iPhone, the first iPhone, the Project Purple, 2007. And I play a bit with this and see, okay, what type of approach they would have used in this case. And I know this project, so requirements, they had been working on definition of the requirements for 3 years. So when they launched the project, they had 2 prototypes. But basically, it's a bit subjective, so it's more about a group decision. But in the end, you see that these projects tend according to the scoring, they use a bit of a hybrid method. So don't go for full agile, don't go for waterfall. A mix. The mix is what we need to define next. So what I wanted to do is to make this interactive. First, that you connect with other people around the world. Second, I put, sorry, this was meant to be without scores. There's a small, because if I give you the scores, then what's the point, no? Wait, it's the other one I wanted to share with you. 1 second. So if I'll show you 4 projects that I put together here. And I thought, why don't you just get together in teams and select one and try the scoring and just discuss it as well. So here it is. I got it. It was in the other slides. So I took 4 projects here, well-known: Burj Khalifa, London Crossrail project, NASA Mars, and then just a global ERP system. So I thought, use this chart to take one of these projects and discuss it in your group and see what will be the best approach for that. And maybe you see gaps in the questions, and this is work in progress. This is an experiment. So let me put in the chat. I'll put in the chart first this, what you see here, the table that I use for the hybrid scoring. So that's in the chat. If you go to the chat, you can just download, and it's for you. You can use it, you can change it. I like to use it right now for this kind of interactive part. So let me open up breakouts, and I'll give you 15 minutes. Introduce yourself. Nice to meet other colleagues. It's always part of this, what we like to do is community. Maybe you have some things in common. Breakout rooms. I will do breakouts of about 6 people, 7. Join, introduce yourself. I leave a bit of time that you network, and then try to use the chart with one project. Whatever project, doesn't need to be this one. Chris, you want to go first? What did your group discuss in a minute or so?
Yeah, well, we discussed the NASA Mars rover, and we came up with a total score of 19 for that.
Nice. How was it? Was it easy or difficult, or?
Well, from my point of view, I think it was relatively easy. I think, of course, the devil is in the details, and we probably don't all know enough about the project to answer that, but relatively easy.
Just kind of high level, not superficial, high level. Thank you to you, Joshua. Sorry, I'm bringing you back from in the park.
No, I'm in the summer house doing a grill, merging two passions, project management. So we discussed actually the 4 of them, and unfortunately we have some issues with the material like that. But we discussed the 4. So the Mars project and the ERP, we assessed that will be a hybrid project. Given that, for example, the ERP, you could have like the IT team working in Jira, and then also you will have the finance and the other supply chain and so forth working in a normal project, and also you will have the Sterco in a more traditional way. Similar with the projects that you have iterations, and the rest will be waterfally. But that was our high level assessment after some introductions. So yeah.
Thank you, Joshua. Bruno, good to see you, Bruno.
Yeah, so for us, we had roughly a minute and a half in the end to make the assessment. The project was the NASA Mars
Mars.
rover mission, and it is an hybrid as well.
Mm.
We are expecting a high score for the change management part and the risks, definitely, and a low score for the timeline, for the duration, because there is potentially long time. It was an interesting tool. I would say it's a good starting point. Definitely.
It's a good starting point. Exactly. Thank you, Bruno. Sylvie.
Thank you. We were 2 Montrealers and 2 Americans, so we went with the NASA project. What we did discuss, and this came a little bit from my readings, quote unquote, but I couldn't ascertain that it was on this particular project. But what I had read, because I've been double jointed brain wise with the 2 methods for over 15 years now, I think, or 10 years. But what I did read about the NASA projects is that, yeah, when they were doing a lot of experimenting, not knowing whether or not that component of the project was going to see the light of day, quote unquote, and that it didn't impact security or regulatory aspect, that they would do it mostly in Agile. But then they would put themselves some sort of un jalon, voyons, I can't speak English, a go, no go decision as to, do we continue, first of all, with this particular group of, call it WBS or whatever you want to call it, okay? And if so, then the investments comes in, the risk management, the security aspect, and so on and so forth. So for this particular part, they were basically fully Agile. And then obviously the executives, regulatory, money, and so on. And then if they said, no, we're going ahead, this is quote unquote doable or feasible or realistic, then they would kind of switch into a hybrid method.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I had read.
Thank you, Sylvie. Very interesting reflection. I think that's what it seems like. Before you are really clear on the solution, there's a phase of innovation and iteration and maybe agile or design thinking, and then you have the phase where you need to structure the project, which is more the program project management, and then will be a mix of some work stream in agile, some work stream in. So I think that's kind of starting to make sense. I don't know in detail how it looked like, but I like that. Thank you. Claude, please.
Yes, well, I was with Sylvie.
Okay.
So as
you
she
have the
was
same answer, I hope.
Well, I find it very interesting that the scoring, the 2 other gentlemen that spoke about the NASA project, they had a score, because I did the scoring as Sylvie was talking, and I ended up with a score of 20, which is hybrid.
Yeah.
And I found it interesting that the high score that we had was the same high score that Bruno would have. So it tells me that the method has, makes sense. So yeah, we ended up with a hybrid with 20 points, high points being change, stakeholders, and risks, and lower point being scope, uncertainty, and delivery. So
nice.
I really like that exercise. Thank you.
At least we're aligned. That's good. There nobody went to the other side, so
yeah,
it's a question of 1 or 2 points. That's good. It's a good starting. Anyone else from other groups wants to share? We're not forcing here anyone, so it's voluntary. When I teach, it's different. I force people to speak, but here we're in a friendly environment. So, Sylvie, your hand is still raised.
Yeah, I was just wanted to add for the rest of the group, I'm located in Canada. So banking, Bombardier, airplane, highly regulated environments for us. And so I worked on projects, let's say in banks, where essentially, again, the minute that whatever we're working on had a regulatory aspect, then we would have to kind of bring, it was kind of almost like an automatic reflex that we would have to bring some sort of waterfall classic methodology. Also because our regulatory, whether it's at federal level or provincial level, they work on waterfall. There's checks and balances and dates and forms and data that you have to share and so on and so forth. And they're quite strict. And to me, that's understandable, because if not, it becomes a bit of a wish-wash. Same for Bombardier, and I'll end on that, which has done a lot of work in minimizing their environmental impact. That portion of the work that they do, okay, they do it agile. Eric Martel, who's the CEO, he fell into the agile methodology many years ago. But then the minute that they realized, okay, we could be onto something, again, because of the regulatory aspect to the Ministry of Transport, then they kind of go, okay, we need to kind of, and they basically decipher really on the, if you look at the task, okay, this we can do agile, this has to be waterfall, how do we intertwine this? And it seems to work. Bombardier's made a wonderful comeback, so it seems to work.
Thanks for sharing, Sylvie. And next time we meet, I want to share some case studies that I've collected. Could be that one, could be one. Of course, Sylvie, if you want to share more details. I want to just do the last minute. So this was my scoring, which is great to see the 18.
It's so cool.
Again, it's a hybrid. I call it hybrid. Some of them are more hybrid towards waterfall. Some of them more agile. Done full. I think in the end, most of it will be hybrid / some kind of more stronger focus, but just a bit of fun, but also trying to find something that we could be using. Simple. I can be doing for a phase of a project. It can be doing for a work stream, and it's not complicated. I think that's the goal. So next time we'll meet, we'll go into something a bit more detailed on what does it mean. But I wanted to start with this high level. And then just to wrap up, if these are just a bit of other things that are going, the AI prediction tool, if you're looking into AI and prediction, this is not generative AI, but machine learning. It's been already tested with a few companies, so you can have a look. The survey, thank you for that, for your help, and if you can share that, the more details we gather, it will the same. And then for those who didn't join, we have for the last one of the year, we might have one towards the end of the year, but Ricardo and I will have this masterclass next week. And with that, I don't know if there's any questions, any comments. I do like to finish on time. Or observation. If not, we leave it here.
Can I say something?
Yeah, of course, Paula. Yeah.
Hi, thanks, Antonio. It's lovely to be in this space again, where we're seeing one another. Happy to come back for another session like this. If you are interested in looking at strategic analysis for projects from the foresight space, the CEO of Preempt.life is someone I know, and I'm sure he would love to do a presentation about that if you are interested.
Thank you. Yeah, Paula, I need to get back to you. You always have so many good connections, so we can bring some of the people that you know in this space as well. It's just been a bit busy, but thank you for always the helping and supporting. Thank you. There's one hand raised, Mohammed. Nasif, what?
Yes, hi. Thanks a lot for this. The first time to join this your sessions. It's really interesting. Like, I'm really glad that I got to listen to the really insightful points shared even in the room. My point is, like, I wanted to ask you, like, in non-IT projects, does assigning or following an agile project, especially when it comes to like marketing or in construction, could it be cause like some sort of absence of accountability? Because like if you keep changing things, especially in non-IT domains, this could like make it really hard to really hold people accountable for the projects, especially following the having clear milestones.
Yeah, Mo, it's a good question. I think there's even in construction today, there's two things with Agile. I think that's another thing we need to think as a group is there's the Agile philosophy, which is the Agile philosophy is make big things small, focus on feedback, focus on benefits, small ones. So I think these are applicable to programs, transformation. I love these things. Then you have the Scrum approaches, the sprints and so on, which I think that it's just more specific to some areas. So I think we'll need to distinguish between that philosophy, which is maybe it's more a hybrid philosophy, not just Agile, because there's good things around project management. So maybe we'll come up with a new philosophy, principles, and then when you go to the tools, certainly more infrastructure and see will be more waterfall, but that doesn't exclude that some parts can be more around iteration, testing. And so we'll see that, Mohamed. It's a point that we still need to find out what's the best approach.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, good question. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Jose Delgado.
Yes, well, first, thanks, Antonio and everyone for this very interesting session. Can you hear me? Because
yeah, perfect.
Okay, good. No, just to be sure, I was looking for the survey you were asking for, just to clarify what is that, because I cannot find it. So I can provide my comments there. So, and is it in the chat? You pasted in the chat?
The Harvard Business Review?
No, the survey you were asking. There is a survey if you want to contribute with your idea.
Yeah, I'll put it here in the chat. It will be. I'll send an email with the recording, with the files, and with the link. Thank you, Jose.
Okay, and it's clear. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. And the last comment should be 1 minute.
Yeah, I know. I won't even take that. I'm going to try my best. I'm going to do a call to action and see if I can find you some case studies that I know were done in Montreal. See if they're prepared to share them. Okay, because I know Bombardier is one of them that's really believing in the hybrid methodology. And as I said, with very good results. And I'll check with our banks also.
Perfect. And I had somebody in South America or so told me we're using hybrid. So if we have cases, we'll invite them and they'll share and we'll learn. That's the whole point of this community. So on time, we need to finish on time. We're project managers, so it could not be other way. I wish you a great weekend, great start of the summer or the winter if you're in the south. And I'll probably schedule one in a month. So just to have a bit of cadence and that we get together. If you can join, fine. If not, we'll see the recording. But thank you very much. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Gracias, Antonio.
Have a nice weekend.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.